Because Blindspotting is in a different timeline than we are, it's Halloween, and while Trish, Ashley, Janelle, and Earl decide to check out some haunted houses on the boardwalk, unfortunately for Trish, Jackie is having Cuddy meet her dad, who is strangely Cuddy's childhood idol. So the first stop is going to go into Cuddy meeting Jackie's family, and initially, Trish tried to set up Cuddy so that when he met all of Jackie's family, he would do one of the major blunders you can do when you're meeting them. Now, to start off, Cuddy's already told everybody, so he stands out. And the setup was to have him dressed as a pirate because Jackie's father is Dante, the guy who played Rufio and Hook with Robin Williams. Now, once Jackie sees that a man's dressed as a pirate, she tries to cover him up the best she can, but because Trish is working with one of Jackie's cousins rips off his jacket that's covering everything, and with that, Dante, he notices, and this leads to spatulas being used as swords, and eventually an actual sword being brought out, as Cuddy's pretty much forced to fight for Jackie's hand. Well, not hand in marriage, of course, but just hand just to date her. But what separates this situation from all the other ones that Jackie has been put through is the fact that she actually interfered and stopped her dad, and with that, he considers him a crow now rather than a pirate, and unfortunately for Trish, that means that her little plan didn't work. For the second topic, it's just about Earl, Trish, Ashley, and Janelle coming together, dressed up as nuns, some of which are just nuns for the fun of it, others to honor Whoopi Goldberg's character in Sister Act. And Trish, as she usually does, makes things a little bit weird. Now, how did she do it this time? Well, apparently her and Jackie back in the day used to dress up, and when it came to going to theme parks like this, they would pretend to be blind in order to get past so they can easily move up to the front and get their friends to come along, since usually with a disability pass, you can get about, I think they said, 3 people along with you. Neither Ashley or Earl are necessarily all the way comfortable with this, but Janelle is the only one who's like really pushing back against it all. But that aside, one thing that Trish really gets out of this is that she gets to be with her people. And as we've seen before, even though Trish is younger than Ashley, that's kind of like a sister to her. So when it comes to Trish's friends, they're kind of like older siblings in a way as well. Even Earl, who's rather new to the group. But even with Earl being rather new, he's able to have this sort of comfort with Trish to the point where she's talking about a situation with Jackie. She's leaning on him and really kind of like relaxing in his presence. And even though Trish isn't the kind who's like very difficult, even though Trish isn't the kind who has a hard time like being close to people, at the same time, Jackie is a subject that is definitely close to her heart, and talking about that relationship, is probably not easy for her, especially as she comes to realize that her work wife, or however she puts it at any given time, is someone she actually wants to be in a potential relationship with. Now, as for how Earl feels about his situation with June, well, when him and Janelle reconnect and reconcile, he pretty much makes it clear that they are exploring something, but right now June does not have a title. June is his friend who just so happened to be his ex from high school, who came back into his life. And then when it comes to Janelle, what's going on in her life, as she finally gets to have that conversation with Ashley, she reveals that Mustafa, the man she married in Bali, that's the person she's been texting, and they've been reconnecting. Now, Ashley's kind of about it, but partly you have to see that it's due to the fact that this Mustafa dude is taking away her time. And even though she has Tina now, Tina is still a new friend compared to this friend from high school, if not beyond, who is now kind of withdrawing a little bit to refocus her attention somewhere else. Which leads to the last topic, which is just Trish kind of triggering a few people, and mainly in the form of calling out Earl for having PTSD, which he probably knows he has, but he doesn't really like people saying it. But what really gets somebody real messed up is Ashley being told she has depression. Now, to be fair, Trish admits she has ADHD, but Ashley being told she has depression, that messes with her deeply. And it could just be because, similar to Rainey saying that she's not fun, Ashley may not be the best at taking criticism, especially criticism that goes beyond the superficial and that has to be really acknowledged and analyzed because it's coming from somebody who knows you. So with that in mind, it seems that this might be something Ashley gets stuck on for a while. But as for what she may do about it, and if she may try to get an actual diagnosis to say she is or isn't depressed, only future episodes can tell. So when it comes to highlights for this episode, it has to be Trish, and it's also going to be Cuddy going against Dante, as well as Ashley's exploration into potentially having depression. The first and foremost thing we have to say as a highlight is Trish and what she usually guarantees per episode. Generally speaking, Trish is someone who is over the top, passionate, some may say ghetto, but at the same time, there's something about her being that type of character in a show like this which matters so much, since it can often feel like the more artsy or the more potentially highbrow, depending how you want to look at it, a show is, the less you see characters like Trish. Yet, even with Trish not being in every single episode, she still is shown to hold value and hold insight that maybe other characters can't provide. And case in point, when it comes to Ashley, even though Trish can often seem, superficial to a certain degree, you can't discount how, because she's been a sex worker for so long, she knows and understands people to a point that Ashley knows Ashley can be affected by her saying that she probably has depression, since Trish has been working with people in close proximity, listening to them and who knows what else for so long, that her having this type of diagnosis, even if she's not a doctor, is something you should perhaps take seriously beyond the fact that Trish has known Ashley for so long. But even that aside, Trish is just the kind of comic relief that we need for this show, but at the same time, it's a beautiful thing that she's not made into a joke. Her situation with Jackie, including the whole setting Cuddy thing up, is funny, but at the same time, it's kind of a recognition that Trish, who potentially doesn't have too many friends, especially friends that aren't through Miles, or even Ashley for that matter, it makes it so losing one is very much difficult for her. And who knows, this whole wife situation when it comes to Jackie could be because she has emotional feelings for her that are romantic, potentially even beyond that, or because since Jackie's her only friend, she kind of has an attachment to her. I won't say obsession because that's a bit excessive, but definitely the kind of attachment where somebody taking away from her is messing with her routine, messing with what makes her feel sane. And even though many people may not call Trish normal, I would say like any normal person, she doesn't like when things are disrupted in her life. And having this man who can give things to Jackie that she can't, and she can't really compete with him either, that probably messes with her deeply. With that said, I have to admit, Cuddy, this big, over 6 feet tall dude, going back and forth with Dante, and I would say holding his own to a certain degree, that was something to watch. And granted, when it comes to Cuddy, he wasn't necessarily agile like a dancer or anything like that, or contortionist, but seeing him really like hold his own and not be kind of robotic and stiff, it really makes you appreciate the work that goes into fight scenes, especially fight scenes with people who probably don't have the training for that. Alongside that, also just have an uphill battle when it comes to looking like they actually could. That's the best way to put it. Actually looking like they can keep up with the person who's a professional talent. So the last topic for us deals with Ashley's exploration into having depression. And the reason that's a highlight for us is that often when it comes to life, you just keep so busy to the point where you don't have time to check in on yourself because you have to deal with family, work, in Ashley's case, kids. And who has time to get a diagnosis for depression, anxiety, being bipolar? Never mind, even with having such a label, what can you really do with it? I mean, in some cases, like for the show Sorry for Your Loss, one of the characters talks about how it's nice to know that it's some type of chemical imbalance or things like that rather than a character flaw. But at the same time, a lot of these things aren't things that can be fixed. It's something that neurologically makes you different. And yes, you can take pills, you can go to therapy and stuff like that, but now you have this whole other thing you have to deal with, which for Ashley, with having a husband in jail, a kid who's starting to curse, who's starting to, I won't say understand street culture, but at least understand the culture that Oakland has, which is partly influenced by the street, and seeing her son slowly but surely kind of adapt to it. What time does she really have to dwell on potentially having depression, why she has depression, whether it's circumstantial or because of chemical imbalance? And it all just really presents to you why a lot of people don't take mental health seriously, since as much as it's nice to have these labels, it doesn't change anything. Like, because you have depression, your job is not going to go easy on you. Just as if you're somebody who has anxiety, that doesn't mean your job is going to, like when you're in school, you may get an IEP or a aid or something like that. Your job doesn't give a damn about that. They're not going to give you those type of accommodations. Hell, a lot of jobs barely want to give you time off for certain things, even if you're sick, depending on what industry you're in. So in a way, it's going to be very interesting to see what Ashley does with what Trish told her. And yes, Trish has known her a long time, and also Trish has talked with a lot of people, so maybe Ashley may take it seriously, but at the same time, Ashley does every now and then downplay Trish, so who knows if she, based off of this episode, really takes it to future episodes, or maybe explore what that means, or if she's just going to consider this like Rainey's comment about her not being fun, and Ashley's just going to now try to be happy-go-lucky to try to counter what people are saying about her. Overall, I would definitely say that Blindspotting, as it continues to carve its own niche, really gives you, or even I could just say maybe just gives me what I need in terms of a show focused on characters who live in an urban world. It gives you characters like Trish, who are definitely a bit hood, ghetto, passionate in a way that can be a bit much, but at the same time it shows multiple intelligences with that character by showing that her social intelligence is high. And also, when it comes to manipulating people, she knows what she's doing by, faking a blind thing, and then everything we don't see when it comes to her sex work. But at the same time, as much as we have that kind of character, we also have those like Ashley, we have those like Janelle, we have those like Earl, and even Rainey, and it just gives you such an idea of what a community looks like that it really, I think when a lot of people use diversity, and I've said this many times, diversity can often be something that's seen as very superficial when it comes to shows and movies, but Blindspotting, I think, really nails it in a way that allows you to understand that your perceptions of Oakland, be it because of rap songs or whatever, is only just a piece of the world that they live in and that they have cultivated in the Bay Area.